Hello everyone, I'm Olivia and welcome to another Old Hollywood's movie recommendation video. So I already did a part 1 for this and I am here back with you all to give you a part 2 to recommend you some old Hollywood movies to watch. In case you do not know where to start, here are a couple of my favorites. So I will be sure to link the part 1 down below because those have some good recommendations, but I'm back with you again to give you 6 new recommendations, so let's just get right into it. So the first movie I have to recommend is Sabrina. This stars Audrey Hepburn, Humphrey Bogart, and William Holden. Audrey Hepburn's character, Sabrina, works for this wealthy family, and Humphrey Bogart and William Holden are the two sons of the wealthy family. William Holden is a playboy type of character that Sabrina is in love with, and Humphrey Bogart is kind of the black sheep of the family, and he very much is quiet and to himself and doesn't have a lot of friends. So Sabrina tries everything that she can in order to impress William Holden's character, David, but he barely notices her. So in an emotional action, Audrey Hepburn's character goes to Paris and learns how to cook and how to be a Parisian lady, and she returns back to this household and David finally notices her. But as David is trying to win over Sabrina's heart, Sabrina is also falling in love with Humphrey Bogart's character, Linus. So it's somewhat of a love triangle, and I really enjoy this movie because we get to see Audrey Hepburn and Humphrey Bogart, which are two of my favorite actors of all time, and I also loved seeing Audrey Hepburn's character turn from a shy, meek woman into a very lovely Parisian woman who's very confident and outspoken, and I just loved seeing her act alongside Humphrey Bogart. I don't think they have the best of chemistry in the world, but just seeing this movie and seeing the loveliness of it all is so pretty, and I would highly recommend if you're a fan of Humphrey Bogart or Audrey Hepburn because I feel like it's a classic for them. Although I know when I read Lauren Bacall's autobiography, she did mention that Humphrey Bogart was not too proud of this movie. He thought it was very simple and not really up to par with his standards. It's still a very lovely movie to watch if you want to see Humphrey Bogart and Audrey Hepburn. The next movie I have to recommend is Rear Window, and this is directed by Alfred Hitchcock. I feel like if you want a place to start with Alfred Hitchcock, you should either watch Psycho or Rear Window. I feel like those are just like two of his best movies. I believe I saw Rear Window in my high school cinema class, and then I saw it again in my college film class. It stars James Stewart and Grace Kelly. James Stewart's character recently broke his leg, so he has nothing to do but sit in his apartment building and watch all these other apartment buildings that his building faces. So while he's sitting by his window and he's healing, he is watching all these people live their separate lives through the windows of their apartment buildings. So one day he sees this woman being attacked in an apartment building, and he sees these very weird actions from the man who lives in the apartment building, like he's packing up things, he's, I believe, painting his walls because maybe he's trying to cover up a crime that happened. So James Stewart's character gets very much into watching these apartment buildings, and he wants to solve what happened to that woman. Was she killed? Is she missing? What happened to her? And Rear Window is just a very visually pleasing movie to watch because Alfred Hitchcock is such a wonderful director. The way he shoots this film and the way that it's primarily centered in Jeff's apartment and you get to see out into the other apartments is so fascinating to watch. And what I learned in my film class was it's kind of mirroring how we watch TVs and movies, and we're just peeking into other people's lives like Jeff is doing into these windows of these other apartment buildings. Just the way that it's shot, just the way that's executed, and the tension that's rising throughout the entire movie is so well done, and I really enjoyed watching it, and it's a movie that I feel like I can watch over and over again. I would highly recommend it if you're looking for an Alfred Hitchcock movie to watch because it's full of intrigue, it's full of mystery and plot twists, and it's also so well done and well shot, and the editing is also something to be admired, and I would highly recommend it. Another Audrey Hepburn movie that I would recommend that you watch is Funny Face. I recently watched this a couple of months ago, and it stars Audrey Hepburn, who works in a bookstore. She's a very philosophical woman who wants the deeper things in life, and one day these people from this magazine rush into her store and they use her bookstore as a setting for a photo shoot, which she thinks is something that is so rude and so crass because this bookstore is supposed to be a place of learning and a place of intelligence, but they're now demeaning it with their magazine and their fashion models. And while they're doing this photo shoot, they realize that Audrey Hepburn has a very funny face, and her face is very unique and very different and would look really good on a fashion magazine. So they decide to whisk her off to Paris and make her into a model. So basically we get to see Audrey Hepburn just transform from this very meek, bookish girl into a very beautiful model, while also exploring Paris and seeing her fall in love with Paris. It's such a classic Audrey Hepburn movie because we get to see her intelligence and her beautiful acting, and we also get to see these beautiful costumes that she wears and her love for Paris. I really enjoyed Funny Face because we get to see these beautiful costumes and the way that they shoot her posing and stuff for the magazine, and we also get to see wonderful shots of Paris, and the romance that blooms in Funny Face is also beautiful as well. But I feel like the center of this entire movie is Audrey Hepburn's acting and the way that she is not only a beautiful model, but she's also just a very intelligent, very philosophical woman. I feel like it's a very underrated Audrey Hepburn movie because when people think of Audrey Hepburn, they think of Roman Holiday or they think of Breakfast at Tiffany's, but I feel like Funny Face is also a really adorable and just entertaining Audrey Hepburn movie. The next movie I have to recommend I saw in my high school cinema class, and it is Adam's Rib. It stars Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn. So Adam's Rib is about a woman who tries to kill her husband. So Spencer Tracy's character is a lawyer, and he defends the husband in this case in court. And Katharine Hepburn's character defends the woman in court. So not only do we get to see these two very strong characters being lawyers, we also get to see the gender stereotypes that were pretty prevalent in the 40s and the 50s, where women were seen to be always at home and they had to take care of their husband, and men were the one making money. Meanwhile, Katharine Hepburn's character is a very strong lawyer, but she also succumbs to those stereotypes because she does wait on Spencer Tracy and she does take care of him. But as this case progresses, she starts to go against the grain of the expectations of society and the gendered stereotypes that were prevalent at that time. So she starts to stand up to Spencer Tracy, and they start to have these little tiffs because they're very much letting this case get to them personally, because they feel so strongly about the people that they're defending. They're letting this case come home with them, which leads to a lot of arguments. I feel like Adam's Rib is a very cool movie to see because you get to see the social commentary at the time in the movie, and I feel like once you notice those things, you get to enjoy the movie even more because you get to see not only Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn have such amazing chemistry and their dialogue is really important and the things that they speak about is very important, but you also get to see them break against the stereotypes of society. And it's a very underrated movie. I don't feel like a lot of people talk about Adam's Rib, but I saw it in my cinema class and my teacher brought up these stereotypes and like the societal commentaries and stuff, and it really stayed in the back of my mind as I was watching the movie, and it made me enjoy the movie even more. And it was also my first Spencer Tracy movie and my first Katharine Hepburn movie, and they were both amazing and I fell in love with them. Speaking of Katharine Hepburn, the next movie I have to recommend stars Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant, and it is Bringing Up Babies. So Katharine Hepburn's character is a very big heiress, and she has a leopard named Baby who kind of runs away, so Katharine Hepburn has to go find her. But along the way, she bumps into Cary Grant's character, who is a paleontologist. He's very much awkward. He's very much not like Katharine Hepburn's character, who's very poised, very feminine, and just like very much like on a higher level than Cary Grant's character. So this comedic movie mixes together them falling in love and them also trying to find Baby the leopard, and it's just such a laugh out loud movie. I don't laugh a lot in movies, but just watching this movie was so hilarious. And like I've said multiple times, Cary Grant is just the king of chemistry. He can work alongside any single actress and it feels like he's known her forever. He just has this very good acting style where he plays along with the other actress in the scene so well, and it just feels so natural. And whenever he graces a movie, I know it's going to be an amazing movie because he's such a wonderful actor, and his chemistry with Katharine Hepburn was so great, and just their dynamic was so hilarious, and it was an adorable movie. I would highly recommend it. It made me laugh out loud. It's definitely a movie I could see over and over again. I would want to show other people. And I just thought it was so quirky and weird. It felt like a romance novel come to life because it was such weird circumstances, like a paleontologist falling in love with a heiress. Like, who would have thought of that idea? It's not like the most groundbreaking movie of all time in terms of like editing and like filming and in terms of dialogue, but it is just a happy-go-lucky movie that I would recommend if you're looking for like a happy old Hollywood movie that isn't too deep and isn't too slow, I would say. The last movie I have to recommend for today's video is The Sound of Music. I saw this with my mom, I think 2 years ago, and I can't believe it took me that long to see it, but this is a classic old Hollywood movie that I feel like everyone should see. So it is set in Austria. It stars Julie Andrews, who decides to work for this household where this widowed man who is from the Navy has 7 children, and he treats them somewhat like naval soldiers. He treats his house like it's the Navy. He's very much strict. He's somewhat kind of boring because he doesn't really show affection and love towards his children. He does love them, but he doesn't openly show it. So once Julie Andrews comes into the house, she is very much kind of like her character in Mary Poppins. She brings love and light and music into the house and makes these kids sing and enjoy music and each other's company. And I forgot how many classic songs are in The Sound of Music. It's just such a wonderful movie. It's also a very, very long movie, and it is also set during World War II, so we also get to see the tensions rise during that time. So it's just a wonderful movie packing together family, music, and the war as well, and it goes from a very happy, very soft movie into a very serious movie once the tensions of World War II really hits the narrative. And I thought it was a wonderful film. I can't believe I didn't see it sooner, and Julie Andrews just always shines as an actress. She's just such a wonderful person who's so talented, whose voice is just so memorable, and the songs are so memorable, and I would highly recommend it if you're looking for a very long movie to watch on a rainy day. It is nearly 3 hours, so I would highly recommend you buckling down and finding a good chunk of your day to watch this movie, because I did not realize how long The Sound of Music is, but it also doesn't feel too long. I feel like it doesn't drag. There's always something happening, so you're not going to be bored if you watch it. But those are another 6 movies that I would recommend if you're looking for old Hollywood movies, if you're looking for Audrey Hepburn movies, an Alfred Hitchcock movie, Katharine Hepburn movies, or a classic musical. They are so near and dear to my heart, and I just wanted to share some recommendations with you. If you have old Hollywood recommendations, I would really appreciate if you could put them in the comments. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and here's looking at you, kid. Bye!